Excuse me. How are you? I'll be back. So they want Mr. Cronin, we have to have it open and close down on the exec session. Mrs. Green's having trouble logging in. That's okay.
Okay, I got it.
Good, yours okay?
Yep,
Okay, sorry about that.
it was a Zoom link and not a Google Meet.
The other one?
Yep,
Oh. Yeah, I was on Google Meet on the other one, so sorry about that.
no problem.
Okay, we're good. Oh, I know, that was for the live stream, that's why we had two of them on there. There were two different links on there. Okay. Please and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. Difficulties.
Okay. We'll call the Monday, January 13th, MSD of Wayne Township Board of Education regular board meeting to order at 6:36 p.m. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Graves, you do the roll call.
Sure. Mike Nance.
Present.
Sherry O'Day Marcotte. Present. Brandon Bowman.
Present.
Karen Burke. Present. Ben Wakefield.
I'm present.
Ramika Graham is with us through birth.
Present. Virtually.
Thank you. Dr. Butts, we have some oaths of office.
We do, in fact. Before that, would you like to do our police sergeant swearing in? Actually, that would be our first one on our list, so. We could have Sergeant Hazelwood please come up front. Chief Boomershine.
Sorry, I took the long route.
You have a copy in front of you.
I do.
Okay. Okay. Like a copy as well, just to read from? Okay.
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Adam Hazelwood,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties
I will faithfully execute the duties
of my office
of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Ceremonial copy, we'll have you and Mr. Bowman both sign that. Written sign with that. While he's doing that, just for the sake of our audience, we also have a certificate of appointment. Certifies that Adam Hazelwood has been appointed by the Metropolitan School District Wayne Township Board of Education to serve as a school police officer under the authority of Indiana Code 2026-3, with all powers, privileges, and immunities granted by Indiana Code 2026-16-6, effective on the date affixed below. This appointment shall hold valid until withdrawn by the Board of Education appointed the 13th day of January 2025. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
You brought some family with you. Would you like to introduce your family?
Sure. This is my wife, Amanda, and our oldest daughter, Madison. Next to her is Kaden, Marley, and Mackenzie.
And are you guys students of New Pal? All right, where's Dr. Landrip? That was your former superintendent, just retired. Yeah. She came here just to see you. And it's good friendship. You want to share a little bit with the audience and with the board about your history?
Yeah, so I come from the Lawrence Police Department after 16 years, and I was a supervisor there in the operations division. I supervised every shift. I was in training, internal affairs, and our K-9 division. I ran our K-9 unit and trained most of the departments inside of Marion County, exception of IMP. Thank you.
Very glad to have you. Chief, anything you'd like to share?
No, it's a great bit of help to have Adam. He's been helping me immensely since he first arrived. He's got a great background, a lot of great experience, and he brings a lot to this department. He's a force multiplier for me because you can't do everything by yourself, and you need good people to support you. So glad to have him.
And so Sergeant Hazelwood will be second in command, and will be the person who's in charge when Chief Boomershine is not available or not around. So we have a chain of command. Finally.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Congratulations. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Congratulations. For our audience members who may not be familiar with our situation with the police department, we are a young department, just a couple years old. Chief Boomerstein is our second chief, and we've been fortunate enough, we're actually one of the last MSDs in Marion County to create our own police force. Policing has changed quite a bit. There used to be a little bit more cooperation between departments as far as our officers having police powers, and over time those have changed. And so when Officer Sheppel was in charge of our department, we really didn't need to be our own department because we had such great cooperation with some of the other police agencies in the area. But as that changed over time, we really had no choice if we wanted to have the safety and security for our staff and for our students. We were put in a position where it was time for us to create our own department. So we are blessed to have some great police officers. We keep adding great police officers to our force, and it's a shame that we have to have it, but we're very blessed to have the great people in place to make sure that we can maintain, to the best of our ability, the safety and security. It's been a blessing with a lot of the accidents with snow. We actually can respond to those, and 3 or 4 of those on Friday, and 1 this morning. So it's one of the components that our officers were able to help with. So Chief, thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Caroline, I believe you have the next portion of our agenda.
Yes, I think we're gonna administer some oaths to the newly elected, re-elected board members. So, first.
You want to come out front here? We'll
Yep,
bring them out here as
you
well.
want to give me out front first? All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States,
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And our newly elected board member, Sherry O'Daymark. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Before we get into our reorganization, this is the reorganization meeting held by stat, as required by state statute. that is held in the first 2 weeks of the year after the election occurs, in which the board will also, in addition to welcoming new members, Mrs. Burke and Mrs. Graves for their second term, Mrs. O'Day Marcotte for her first term, also pick officers and representatives to various organizations in the engagement for our Board of Education. So we are going to have that. You will notice that January happens to be also Board Appreciation Month. Because we've not been able to gather this group collectively together for a group picture. We have our individual pictures, but just want to say a very special thank you. While we give thanks to our board each and every month, in January that is the official celebratory month for what we do. And so it was a bit surreal for me as superintendent to be standing here. Caroline is a Ben Davis High School graduate, now serves as our legal counsel, one of our legal council members. For Church Hill and Antrim, and so to have her in such an official capacity, it was wonderful. And of course, the first employee, the second employee, I guess, to now be my boss, with Sherry Day Marcotte, Scott Klein being the first after he retired as a teacher. So wonderful to have all of you on board. And Mr. Bowman, turn it back over to you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to accept a motion and a second to appoint school attorney Church Hill and Antrim, this evening represented by Caroline.
I would like to make a motion to recommend Church and Antrim as a council.
Motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. I will serve as the meeting chair until the new board officers are elected. So to start us off, is there a motion to elect a slate of officers?
I would like to make a motion to elect Brandon Bowman as president, Susan Graves as vice president, and Karen Burke as secretary.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. All right, congratulations to the new officers. I'll hand the meeting back over to Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to our officers.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, it's time to appoint a school treasurer and assistant school treasurer. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion and a second to appoint Steve Samuel as school treasurer and Amy Eaton as assistant school treasurer. We have a motion.
Motion.
Oh, I thought you made the motion. I'm sorry. Yeah, I make a motion that we accept.
I will second.
A motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And we will move on to set a bond for the school treasurer and assistant school treasurer. Mr. Samuel, can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so this is really just some protection for the school district here. Bond rate of $200,000 for the school treasurer and the assistant treasurer, and then a bond rate of $50,000 covering those individual school treasurers. Each school site has one of those, and high school also has an assistant.
Sir? For a motion to set the bond for the school treasurer and assistant treasurer.
So
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. And we will move on to designate newspapers for advertising. Again, I will turn to Mr. Samuel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we recommend approval of the Indianapolis Star and the Indianapolis Court and Commercial newspapers for our advertising purposes. Bond issues, RFIs, RFPs, those are some of the items that we'll be advertising in those two venues, as well as posting on our website in accordance with Indiana Code.
Motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Sandman. Moving on to designate an Indiana School Boards Association legislative liaison and Indiana School Boards Association delegate.
I'd like to make a motion to elect Mike Nance, or SBA Legislative Liaison and ISBA Delegate.
Motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Nance.
Thank you.
Moving on to designate a Wayne Township Education Foundation representative.
I would like to move to recommend Ramika Graham for the position of Wayne Township Education Foundation Representative.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It carries. Thank you all, and congratulations, Mrs. Grant. Moving on to public comment. Dr. Buss, do we have anyone sign up this evening?
Mr. President, we did not have anyone sign up for public comment this evening.
Thank you, sir. Minutes for approval. Board and our board docs. We've all been provided minutes from the December 2024 Wayne Township Board of Education regular board meeting. Any comment or discussion regarding the minutes presented? Hearing none, they'll be approved as presented. Moving on to old business 2025 construction bids. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, included in your packet for this evening, you'll find the bids and recommendation letter for our 2025 construction projects. The process of approving bids is familiar for most of you, but the strategy and approach we're taking with our new construction manager, Meyer Najum, brings these bid packages to you in a slightly different manner. We talked about this just briefly when you took our recommendation to select Meyer Najum. That would have been mid-year last year. But just to review a couple of those, with Powers and Sons are still current on our 2024 and previous projects. They use what's called the single prime bid process. So we have obviously our construction staff, Powers and Sons, then a contractor who's going to oversee the entire building project. Underneath them, subcontractors that will carry out each trade. Meyer Najum proposed that we go to a multi-prime process, which means that we basically eliminated that main contractor in the middle there. So it's our construction manager, Mr. Spartan, Meyer Najum, directly to subcontractors. And so instead of seeing a recommendation letter that references a specific project at a school, what you see today is all of our 2025 projects, but broken down by bid packages for each of those trades. And so good news is you get to approve a lot of those today. Even better news is we don't anticipate having to bring very many of those back to you throughout the rest of the year. Put us in a really good spot with those. I think the last thing I would add is we are excited. We were hopeful that might help us realize some savings. These we had allocated, budgeted $7.86 million for these projects, and along with about $800,000 that we were able to spend purchasing playground equipment before the end of the year on some rebates. We saved and we came under budget by about $1.1 million. Excited about that. The projects that are included in the facilities and maintenance improvement include Garden City Elementary interior renovation, playground replacement, and then some site work around Garden City Elementary. Lyndhurst and Chapel Hill 7th and 8th grade center athletic buildings and dugout maintenance. Maplewood Elementary will also be getting a playground replacement, also a fence addition that will run out to the adjacent property fence there. And then if you're familiar with Maplewood, on that southeast corner of the property, there's kind of some terraces that are there. Some site work to even that out gradually up to the road so that the fence can come in there without interrupting those terraces. Bridgeport Elementary will also get a new playground and some site work. We have gym floor refinishing at multiple sites. As you might remember, we did a number of those last year. The manufacturer recommendation has those continuing, those coatings to be applied multiple years in order to build that up until it reaches a certain level, and then we're able to let that ride for a little while before having to finish it again. And then vitrification of the terrazzo at BDU to shine that up and repair a couple of spots that were having some issues. But also note that a chunk of the 2025 bond dollars are still covering the second phase of the Ben Davis High School renovation and some other items. If you're wondering why that doesn't add up, closer to that $30 million price tag. We do also work with a different contractor, Etika, for our roofing work, which is ramping up in a pretty significant way. And we eat up a pretty good chunk of those dollars, as well as some continued boiler and chiller work with our partners with Behringer. I will run through these. We will need action from you on 9 of these 10 bid packages here. So similar to Dr. Suggs in December, do the best to be quick and efficient, and we'll roll through each of these. So, Mr. President, members of the board, I present bid package 1, site work. We had 3 bids for this work. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and request approval of the base bid of $757,000 from SCS Construction Services for bid 1, site work.
I move we accept bid package number 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion?
Let me just say that I appreciate you being specific about where these dollars are going, because if somebody walked through the door and looked at this and said, what the heck are these people doing? I think it'd open up a lot of questions, and I would respectfully not voted for it had you not explained that to me. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any additional comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Package 1 carries. Thank you, Mr. Singer.
Thank you. Mr. President and members of the board, I present bid package 2, site concrete. We had 3 bids for this work. Again, happy to answer any questions that you have, and humbly request approval of the base bid of $344,345 from Howard Company for bid package 2, site concrete.
I move we accept bid package 02.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carries. Thank you, Mr. Singer.
Thank you again. Mr. President and members of the board, I present bid package 3, asphalt. We had 3 bids for this work. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and request approval of the base bid of $303,215 from Howard Companies for bid package 3, asphalt.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for bid package 3. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carries. Thank you, Mr. Singer.
Moving on to bid package 4. We had 2 bids for this work. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and request approval of the base bid of $587,000 from Santa Rosa Mosaic Tile Company for bid package 4, terrazzo.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second on bid package 4. Any comment or discussion?
Just one little point that I just noticed that, this says 597,000 on this. Is it supposed to be 587,000?
That is probably a typo from me working yesterday morning.
Okay,
So let's clarify that as 597,000.
Okay.
From terrazzo mosaic tile.
okay, thank you.
Any additional comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. President and members of the board, I present bid package 5, flooring. We had 2 bids for this work. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and request approval of the base bid of $529,000 from TF Andrew for bid package 5, 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second on bid package 5. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Mr. Singer.
Thank you. Bid package 6 is an easy one. We did not receive any bids for bid package 6, which was mechanical, plumbing, and fire protection, so no action is needed from the board. Just some clarity though, this is a small chunk of work. I think a lesson learned from Meyer Najum and from us that the sum total of this work, they are very confident will come in below the $50,000 threshold, and especially then if that is separate mechanical, plumbing, and fire protection. So we believe we will not need to bring that back to you because we'll be able to put out to get bids for that or set quotes for that and then make that selection. Of course, if you prefer, we can bring that back, but notwithstanding, there would not need to be any action on bid package 6.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation too.
All right, so thank you again. We're looking at bid package number 7, electrical and technology. 2 bids for this work as well. Happy to answer any questions that you have. And request approval of the base bid of $60,000 from Sun Electric for bid package 7, electrical.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for bid package 7. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ken. Mr. President, members of the board, I present bid package 8, playground installation and surfacing. We had 2 bids for this work, and again, happy to answer any questions that you have, and do request approval of the base bid of $1,132,000 from SCS Construction Services for bid package 8, playground installation and resurfacing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for bid package 8. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I present bid package 9, general trades. We only had 1 bid for this work. Again, happy to answer any questions that you have, and request approval of the base bid of $2,135,000 from SCS Construction Services for bid package 9, general trades.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for bid package 9. Any comment or discussion?
Why do you suppose that no one else wants to go down this path?
You know, it's a project, most of that work is really the Garden City interior renovation. It's going to extend 14 to 18 months probably because of the phasing that we're requiring to make sure they can continue to have school.
Okay.
And so I think SCS, having already been in on a number of the other bids, including the playground installation that will be on site, for them, it made a lot of sense because they won't have to mobilize nearly as much. It's a question that we have on the agenda for our next meeting with Meyer Najum as well, to really just talk about. That was obviously a huge chunk of this work.
Right.
It's a little concerning that we only had 1 bid, just working through how we can make that more attractive next time.
You suppose that because it's the 14 to 18 months out that people or construction individuals, companies was afraid to get involved with something because they're thinking the economy might change from the standpoint of cost and or what they could charge for that either way?
I think that's possible. I think another component is just we're really early in this process, being just right at the start of 2025. I think there's probably some bigger players that are waiting to put in bids on some larger projects possibly too.
Okay.
And so it hit SCS, and they're not one of the biggest players out there. So I think it hit them in a really good place to be a part of our work.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional comment or discussion regarding bid package 9?
Real quick, Mr. Samuel, I appreciate your explanation of everything. But I was wondering, is there any way that you could go in and maybe like next to where it says general trades, just a little blurb about what that actually entails for each one of the bids, you know, just so that I can, if, you know, something comes up that I need to reference back, I can go, oh yeah, that was for blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely. That's great feedback, and I will make sure that we include that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I appreciate it.
Any additional comment or discussion regarding bid package 9? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. Thank you, Mr. Samuel.
We're almost there. Mr. President, members of the board, I present bid package 10, gym floor refinishing. 2 bids for this group, this work as well. Happy to answer any questions that you have and do request approval of the base bid of $69,400 from Jack Laurie for bid package 10. I would add, Jack Laurie is who did all the work for us last year also, so there's some nice continuity there.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for bid package 10. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carries. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Does that conclude our?
Sorry, that does conclude our construction projects.
No worries.
I was making my notes from Mrs. Graves, so I wasn't paying attention.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We're going to stick with Mr. Samuel and move on to the financial report with the January 13th docket.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, included in your board docs for tonight's meeting, you'll find the claims docket totaling $54,830,115.31 for your review. It's a quick, just again, primer, similar to last month. We make bond payments twice a year in June and December, and so this reflects $21 million of bond payments. So those again come from property taxes into a separate debt service fund, as you probably remember from our budget conversation. So that is obviously a big chunk of money that is not included in most of the dockets you see. And again, we continue to churn through at a really good pace on some big construction projects. So the payments that we're making to those vendors are continue to be a little bit elevated from what we've seen in the past. Really that's what brings us to that $54 million mark, which in my tenure is hands down the highest that we have seen. So happy to answer any other questions that you have, but do request approval of the claims docket as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second regarding the claims docket for January 2025. Any comment or discussion?
You're talking about how much is being spent for the construction. Just as a sideline, how close are we to completion of the, it goes back to what we saw in the fall one day, a nice sunny day, we went over to the transportation
That's right.
plan. They've done a lot of things since then. So how close are we now? Would you have a percentage maybe?
We were able actually, on a really cold day, the last Friday of our shutdown week, to tour that building with our partner, the Powers. And they have not begun drywalling, but I think their mechanical and electrical plumbing pieces are pretty much done.
Okay.
And so we are on track for, I think, substantial completion toward the middle of May. Right on track to be able to move in there as the school year closes. Similarly, we've made great progress. Southfield should be turned over anytime in the next couple of weeks. They're on a punch list there for the 4 classroom addition. Preschool is humming along. They've had a little bit of a pause because of the cold weather for their masonry work, but are continuing to stay on track. We go through the high school.
That's the one I was going to ask about specifically, was the high school. Where do we stand as a percentage, maybe halfway or?
Very pleased. They are really making great progress. Okay. So drywall, when we were there, which would have been a week and a half ago now, was probably a third done. I would guess it's completely done now. So it is really on track. Our food service vendor was in measuring last week for final measurements to get their equipment in. So we do, that's going to be a tight timeline. I certainly don't want to jinx us, but we do feel like we're going to be able to meet that, have that completed toward the beginning of July, and have that ready to go.
Anticipation to be ready for the new school year.
Exactly right.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Just as a reminder, so half of the office space was this project, the other half will be next year. Yeah. So we'll have full use of the cafeteria, the media center, and the new office space on the north side. And then the new safe entrance will be completed as well. Then the south side office areas will be the project for next year.
Okay.
Transportation, we have some graffiti that will become forever part of that building, that we had some folks sneak in and decide to paint on the common concrete on the block. And we thwarted 3 individuals, is that last week, 2 weekends ago?
2 weekends.
2 weekends ago, just happened to have an officer in the middle of the night who was stationed there. Actually was not assigned there, but happened to be parked there and saw 3 individuals casing the facility, looking for a way to get in. So, you know, it's at the same time, we just had a break in at Wayne Sports Park. So it's one of those things that construction sites, and I'm sure Mr. Bowman can speak to this as well, construction sites are prime for those individuals coming in. The student house at Area 31 over break, and we had some vandals break in through the garage and up over. This is the first time we've ever built a garage in one of our Area 31 homes. They came in through the garage to avoid the camera system, went up through the roof and into the house and tore out all the electrical. So we're trying to determine whether to file a claim or not on that, whether it's worth us even doing that. All of the wiring was donated the first time. We do not expect it to be donated the second time. So anyway, it's they all for a little copper. Right? They're gonna strip the wires and go sell the copper. So we're rewiring the Area 31 house. Yeah. Yeah. That is no, that is the one on Taft. Yeah, the one on Vine, we were supposed to close on today, and unfortunately, one of the individuals who was necessary to close on that house is in the hospital and unable to. Well, we're not sure what the outcome is going to be of that. So we actually have a showing. We had a showing about an hour ago, so it's back on the market. Yeah, back on the market. Long way for the docket. I apologize.
It's okay. I apologize, I've lost track. Mr. Samuel, was the vote on the docket?
I believe
We have a motion and a second. I think we voted.
Any additional comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carries. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Moving on to new business with Human Resources, Dr. Suggs.
Mr. President, members of the board, you've received in your board docs the Human Resources Reports A1 and A2. Addendum A1 and Addendum A2 have also been made available for your review. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have and respectfully ask for approval.
Okay.
The Human Resources Reports as presented.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Just regarding the addendum, I feel like I need to say out loud that Timothy Payne is one of my closest friends in the world.
I can get by.
I just had dinner with him, and he didn't mention this at all. So I can't wait to call and congratulate him.
I will not be voting on this piece of business because of the name involved.
Thank you, sir. Any additional comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Suggs.
Is that your son Corey?
Yes,
Tell him congratulations.
I will.
Moving on to donations, Doctors Harris, Walters, and Pierce.
Mr. President, members of the board, I respectfully request consideration of the following donations. First is $400 from Randy's Awards and Promotions for the Education Center Holiday Luncheon. We also have 2 bicycles valued at $100 from private citizens to Chapelman Elementary. Backpacks and supplies valued at $500 from National Air Traffic Controllers Association. Backpacks and supplies valued at $800 from Carrier Corporation. Several pairs of shoes valued at $250 from Shoe Fund. Backpacks, school supplies, coats, hats, and gloves valued at $400 from Aviation Institute of Maintenance. Monthly donations of $300 for Cleaners Food Bank. Totals valued at $7,000 from Sabbath Crash. All of those donations to the Cleveland Elementary State. Additionally, school supplies valued at $250 from Johnson Johnson LLP to support Maplewood Elementary for the holidays. For students and books, valued at $4,000 from the Knights of Columbus to Southfield Elementary. $1,120 from UAW Rolls-Royce Training Center to purchase food for pantry supplies in Southfield. Copy paper valued at $2,000 from Chris Clement to Johnson Elementary. Clothing and toys valued at $14,000 from Rice Dillon to Southfield. Kroger gift cards valued at $1,400 from CHA Consulting for food for Southfield families. $5,000 from Charlie Harrington for Southfield students for the holidays. $500 from DNC Insurance to the Ruby Elementary Post Program. $1,000 from Brian and Crystal Clark to purchase supplies and activities for STEM at Ruby. $6,000 from Win Supply and Toys, Clothing, Hats, and Headbands to Wayne Township students. And the check for $16,256.44 from Win Supply to Wayne Township. Mr. President and members of the board, respectfully request approval of these presented donations.
We have a motion and a second. I heard it. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Pierce.
Thank you.
Moving on to field trips, Drs. Pierce and Dr. Walter.
We have two field trips for consideration this evening. The first is for sixth grade students at Bridgeport to visit the Shedd Aquarium, Navy Pier, and the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago in May. The second from Ben Davis University High School for students in our Model United Nations Club to attend the Regional Model United Nations Conference at IU in Bloomington from February 28th to March 2nd. Mr. President, members of the board, we respectfully request approval.
We have a motion and a second regarding field trips. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Walters and Dr. Pierce.
Thank you.
Moving on to teacher compensation and funding floor notice.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, you should see two links there. The first one should take you to a memo from the Department of Education. I would note this is just a notice. There's no board action required on this. What will end up happening as we go through this, we are also required to post this memo on our website. So we will place this on our public notices part of our webpage for the community to view. So we can be in compliance with Indiana code. But I'm going to go ahead and read from the memo because it outlines what we're looking at pretty well. But pursuant to Indiana Code 20-28-9-27, school corporations that receive an increase in tuition support from one fiscal year to the next are required to spend an amount for full-time teacher salaries during the state fiscal year that was not less than the funding floor for the preceding state fiscal year. This memo serves as notice that 5375 MSD Wayne Township experienced an increase in state tuition support between fiscal year 2023 and fiscal year 2024, and the funding floor was not met. Full-time teacher salaries included full-time teachers and temporary teachers as defined by Indiana Code 20-18-2-22D. These were coded in Form 9 financial information as subcategories 30 to 33. Form 9 financial information submitted by 5375 MSD Wayne Township for fiscal years 2023 and 2024 reflected the following. So you can see the general tuition support received as those top two numbers, and clearly it increased, which we appreciate that from the state of Indiana. In just a moment, we'll review a few slides that help you see that $76,265,295.94. So that would be what we spent on that for the fiscal year 2023 with regard to how the state of Indiana classifies that fiscal year. For fiscal year 2024, you can see we did not meet, only spending $75,002,117.64. So pursuant to Indiana code, acknowledge receipt of this notice is what was required from the board, from the department's governing body, and a public meeting. Enter into the governing body's official minutes for the meeting, and acknowledgement of the notice, and then within 30 days after the meeting, publish it on the school corporation website. So let's dig in just a little bit further to better understand what what's going on here. So let's proceed to the next slide. So this lays out, we submit Form 9 data twice a year. So we're just wrapping up. In fact, I think you may have had our second half of 2024 Form 9 sign off come around, perhaps even this evening. Can't remember if we got it down in time or not. So we did good. So you can see the spring full-time salaries, the fall full-time salaries there. I would point your attention to the fall full-time salary. So that 39 million is about $3 million bigger than the spring expenditure we had there. And so you may remember we've had a number of conversations about the 27th pay falling really at the end of the 22-23 teacher contract, or sorry, 22-23 teacher contract for us. We'll go through the exact dates here on the next slide, but that number is elevated because of the calendar and when our pays occurred. So as we look at the next slide, the state of Indiana defines fiscal year 23 as July 1, 2022 to June 30th of 2023. And so this document will show our pays for that fiscal year. Our first pay was on day 1, July 1st, and that meant that our last pay, the 27th pay of that fiscal year, occurred on June 30th. And so the moral of that story is that last pay on June 30th was $3,030,000 toward this fiscal year. That for us, finishing that contract, when we talked about it with teachers, that pay came in August. But because of how they classified the fiscal year, they grabbed 27 pays in 22-23. Looking then at 23-24, just to go through, you can see, as you would imagine, having a pay on June 30th. The next one was July 14th as our first pay in the 23-24 school year, proceeding to the 26th pay on June 28th of 2024. So one less pay during that year. I think the positive thing is you can definitely see that we did provide a raise. If I go back here, I mentioned that last pay was just over $3 million. And the gap in the funding floor that we are looking at here is just 1.2. So you can tell we're allocating more dollars to teachers, but we did not meet that funding floor based on those calculations, how the calendar falls. Don't anticipate that to be an issue as we move into the future, except that at some point in the next 7 to 10 years, the calendar is going to hit us like that again, and we'll probably have the same conversation to make sure that that's clear. Any questions on that part of it?
This is the first I've ever heard of this statute. So when Steve and I got this letter last week, we were both shocked. We never even knew this was a thing. So you might remember some of the challenges we had around the 27th pay and people understanding them and us having to delay it a year and all the things that went along with that, even though we talked about it for 3 years ahead of time. So yeah, it yet bites us once more with this state statute.
What's sad about this, I can see someone at the State House who doesn't understand this any more than maybe we do exactly. And I don't mean that as we're not smart enough to figure it out, but my point being is they might decide to say, oh, well, you guys are screwing with the money. You're not paying the teachers the right amount of money. Yeah. And let's come up with some new law to try to get it straightened out for you as soon as we possibly can in this session of the legislature. Yeah. And Dave knows what I'm talking about, because there's some people sitting on the education and the committee that don't think very far ahead. And that really frustrates me that this kind of thing shows up kind of out of the clear blue sky for us to try to worry about when we've got other major things, I think, more to worry about than this. So
not all fiscal transparency is created equal, or that's right. We're all for that.
It's very frustrating, and I can hear that in Dr. Butts's voice. It's like, how did I get this?
But caught us off guard, for sure.
Yeah.
So do you respond to that letter and explain to them what happened?
Yeah.
There really is no explanation. I mean, the statute is the statute, so there's nothing really to explain. It's just, you know, the thing that we met with CCA today just to make sure that they understood, because once it hits our website, we know there'll be some people who misunderstand what is on there. And so we're going to try to do a brief explanation as to the 27th pay falling in that 23 fiscal year, so that people will understand. So, yeah, but we've done our due diligence. We have the discussion in a public meeting. We'll get it posted in the next 30 days on our website. And one more thing, we will comply.
And this just has to be posted 4 years.
That's correct. Till we get another one, I think.
Next year's data will show we're going to spend more in fiscal year 25 than we did 24.
Yes.
We're confident.
Confident
Of that.
Thank you. No action needed on that, correct?
That's correct.
Moving on to board reports, 2024, 2025 transfer data.
Thank you, Mr. President. Information only, won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but wanted to share with you and want to thank Steve for putting these together. And you also had a static PDF in your files or in your board doc, just to give you an idea. You can go on the Indiana Department of Education's website and manipulate this however you want for any school corporation you want or any school that you want to do that. Whatever geeks you out as far as spreadsheets and data goes, this is one of those things that you can spend a whole lot of time on if you want. To read through, just to show you a little bit about what this says, there are 16,013 students who have legal settlement. Those are students not including homeschool students. So students that have an SDM that are attending a school that has a verified number. Okay, so 16,013 students with settlement in the MSD of Wayne Township. Of those, 14,279 actually attend an MSD of Wayne Township school. 947 attend a different traditional public school or public charter. So go outside, somewhere outside of our boundaries. 787 are attending a non-public school. That would be a private school that accepts school vouchers. Okay, and then it breaks it down a little bit further in the next section. 544 are at a different traditional public because of choice, their own choice. They decide to go to Avon, Brownsburg, wherever it may be. I'll show you that list here in a minute. 24 are there because of some other reason than parent choice, usually court situation. The courts have assigned them to another school. So that's a possibility there. 379 have gone to a public charter. 787 have gone on to the Indiana Choice Scholarship. So what does that look like? Well, when you look at, we're going to look at our peer group. When you look at our peer group, these are the MSDs, Brownsburg's in there as well. House Bill 1136 is that bill that talks about the school districts having to give over their corporation to charter leadership or to charter run organizations if they are below 50%. We are at 89.17% of those who have legal settlement inside of MSD of Wayne who choose to come to MSD of Wayne Township School. You'll notice the only one higher than us in this peer group, and we stretched a little bit to bring Brownsburg into the conversation at 89.9. So they're the only ones in our area that are slightly higher. So I wanted to show you that a little bit. But if we go across that top chart, the yellow line there, same number that just gave 14,279 who are attending our schools, who live in our school district. We get 1,522 students from another school district. So 1,522 have chosen to come into Wayne who live somewhere else. 947 are leaving us to a traditional public. So we have a net gain of 575 children who are attending another public school. Now, when we get into the choice schools, that's 787, we actually have a loss of 212. But comparatively, significantly less than our other MSDs in Marion County and also Indianapolis Public Schools. And you'll notice Indianapolis Public Schools has a legal settlement of 49,721 students. They have a net loss of 29,524 because of students who are, and that includes their innovation schools. So the 30 schools that are in their innovation network are considered to be part of that. So where are our students going? So if we take a look at where our students are going, top school receiving our students at Athens IPS. Union School Corporation, that's a charter, or that's a virtual school. So virtual school, we're not sure where Clarksville fits into this. We've got to do some research. Clarksville, I don't.
It's also virtual.
Is it? Okay, so 52 virtual. So we have 118, my math is correct, 118 students who are attending another virtual besides our own, which is Achieve. So Janine was looking at some marketing strategies on how we might talk to 118 who live in our district who could go to our charter schools too. Plainfield, that was Plainfield, MSD Decatur, 5041, 40 to Brownsburg. So those numbers look a little bit high until then we go down here, by the way, here's our charter schools. So Indiana Math and Science is the highest at 63, Indiana Connections. It just kind of goes down from there with the number of students attending those charter schools. Then we get into choice schools, where you can see Cross Point Christian has the highest number, 83, then St. Chris, Ritter. Indiana West Christian School used to be Kingsway. It's now located at the Westside Church of the Nazarene, so a little bit closer, a little bit easier for our students to go to. Chapel Hill Christian School, of course, Covenant Christian. So those three are in our district. So just kind of give you some ideas there. Now coming into our school district, mentioned we had 500 and some coming into our, 1,500 coming into our school district, 790 come from IPS. 790 IPS students have chosen to come into Wayne. Avon, we lose about 40 to Avon, we gain 108. So there are 108 students who come over from Avon. Pike, 99. Ramika's probably, she can tell us which ones came from her school because they go back and forth between Ramika's school and ours. So she's just right up there on 56, on 56. Decatur, Speedway, 66 from Speedway, Brownsburg, 37. You know, so I think that's a surprise sometimes when people say students are transferring to Wayne Township from Brownsburg. Yes, they are. Perry, Plainfield. So you can see the schools there and where students are coming from. Now, we start to get into some of these other school corporations. You think, how's a kid from Elkhart coming down to Wayne? Well, Achieve, right? So Achieve pulls in a lot. That's why you see so many of these schools from all over, because they're Achieve students who have enrolled. You get a lot of ones from students in Bluffton, Harrison, Washington. So, but a lot of these students are in person, especially in the contiguous school districts. So just really interesting information. It's staying pretty consistent year over year. We typically lose a few hundred when we're looking at net gain and loss overall, but still really proud that we are a school of choice for many other students and families who are choosing to attend Wayne. The question is, how do we keep our own? Right? How do we keep our own and gain some from other places? So wanted to share that with you. It came out just last month, and always good data to have. So again, IDOE transfer report, if you want to go in and play with it, get in the numbers, and you can slice it and dice it in a whole bunch of different ways for any school district in the state. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions if you haven't.
I just think it's interesting as virtual school grows and more students are doing that. Looking at, our Achieve, if you take out the numbers there, then our gain is probably a negative. I'm not sure I have to look at that, but we're also losing a lot to.
What's our current enrollment to Achieve? So
We're also losing quite a bit too. So it's just interesting as that field grows and more students are taking that option.
we're surprised too with the number of virtual schools who are still popping up. And while we're on the topic of virtual school, we're going to see a significant shift in summer school this year because the majority of the funding for summer school is going to go to literacy, I-Read 3 mandatory summer school for second and third graders. So we will not see near the enrollment in high school virtual school. The top 3 classes that have been enrolled in over the last 5 to 10 years have been PE. All 3 have been PE. And so they are draining the summer school funds from the state of Indiana. And the state of Indiana, we will see a directive at some point between now and probably mid-spring that those courses will not be funded at all. They do not want students taking summer school, PE in summer school. So our question is, and the discussion we've had is, do we still offer but charge full tuition for those students who want to get it out of the way because they want to clear a spot in their schedule? Will we have any summer school at all? A lot of districts are talking about just doing credit recovery and looking at very minimal number of secondary courses. We already decided no 7th and 8th grade summer school. It hasn't been a hot spot for us anyway, but we believe we're going to have somewhere in the range of 1,400.
Be around 1,000.
Okay, so we're hoping Amira data has been very promising. We just don't know how well Amira and iRead3 data will match up. So if Amira data matches or is somewhat close to our iRead3 trends, then we should have fewer than 1,000 students because that's trending up and it's looking very positive for all of our literacy cadre schools that are working through and just doing yeoman's work to improve reading at the 2nd and 3rd grade. But we don't know yet. So we'll have a much better idea after the first administration of iRead3 if Amira and iRead3 actually do match up pretty well. If not, then past data would tell us that we're going to have closer to that 1,200-1,300 number of our families who are going to be in summer school. So we've not seen that level of attendance or I should say invitation to the summer school. They're required to go. Well, we're required to invite them. They're required to go. I don't know that we have a stick yet.
They're required to attend at 35%.
Yeah. So I don't know what happens if they don't. Do we know what happens if they don't?
Then we have to do a remedial reading plan for them for the next year.
Okay. So lots of extra work for our staff.
If they don't pass, whether they attend summer school or not, if they don't pass, they are retained.
That includes all subgroups, right?
There are
Or
exceptions.
Few exemptions.
So there are retention exemptions. For special education students, it's a case conference committee decision, and then for our multilingual learners, if they've received English instruction in a school in Indiana for less than 2 years, then they can qualify for a retention exemption. There are some other qualifiers. There's 5 different qualifiers, but those are the largest chunks. If they've already been retained twice prior to 3rd grade, if they've already been retained in 3rd grade once, and they've been 3rd grade twice, that's another one.
If they do
And
not
if they
pass,
pass math,
That's right.
If they pass math, I learn, then they can qualify for an exemption.
That's right. And they'll continue to take the test through 6th grade.
Yes.
So twice a year through 6th grade. If they don't pass.
Yeah, so prior to this year, you could give exemptions and students didn't have to continue taking the test. Now the exemption, it gives them an exemption from being detained, but there's no exemption from continuing to take the test. So they still have to continue taking it through 6th grade, even if they qualify for the exemption.
And it's the same test that a 3rd grader would take.
It's right.
The argument, of course, is we would hope that somewhere in that period of time, a student will be reading at 3rd grade level. But kudos to Dr. Pierce and the elementary staff, the elementary school leaders, the work that they've done with the cadre, the literacy endorsements that our staff are getting, the literacy grant that we're distributing. We're seeing some positive movement. We're hopeful that the data that we have so far is indicative of what we will see in the spring. So
We also launch after school tutoring.
I do after school tutoring, our staff. So thanks to Mr. Samuel, some of our planning grant money at Lilly, we are doing after school tutoring in our elementaries with our staff and transporting students home. So that, and we're hoping to write that into the Lilly grant as well as one of our continued steps of intervention.
Thank you, Dr. Butts.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any additional conversation regarding the report on transfer data?
No additional conversations. There's none from the board.
Moving on to board information and comments, Dr. Butts.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just a reminder that the General Assembly is in action. Tomorrow's the last day for the Senate actually, tomorrow's the last day for the House to introduce bills. Senate was last Thursday. We anticipate the last of the bills to drop. We'll keep an eye on that. and make sure to keep you updated with regard to movement of those bills. We think it'll be fast and furious for some of those bills to make it through committee and to get assigned or to not make it to committee assignments. We know that the governor's agenda has been fairly well stated, and we'll start to see some movement on that through our leadership in the House and the Senate as well. Wanted to also just let you know that I will be out the end of this week for my annual Midwest Suburban Superintendent's Conference, and we'll be Dr. Suggs we're going to be calling weather, although we've already done an initial run through the rest of the week. It looks good. Temperature and snow on Tuesday. I'll still be here, so we'll be able to take care of that if need be. Martin Luther King Day, it does happen to be Monday the 20th, and we are off that day. And so just as a reminder, no student attendance on the 21st. And then the school board visit, next school board visit will be Bridgeport Elementary. Mrs. O'Day Marcotte's first one back to the school that she opened in 1994. That'll be on Thursday, 8 a.m. for that school board visit. I'm sorry, did I say 94? 2004. 2004. So here's the irony. So we were going through as we were meeting with our 94 would have been North Wayne. When we went through with our principals in the December evaluation, we started backward mapping all of the 20th, 25th anniversary things that we have coming up. Ben Davis High School being 60 years on the corner of 10th and Girls School coming up next year. This will be their 60th year on that corner. You look at the opening of Chapel Hill, Ben Davis University High School, all of those happening kind of in that 2006, 2007 range. We had North Wayne at 94. We had Bridgeport at 2004. So we have all these anniversaries coming up. So we've been really talking to our administrators about we need to do something for these. And so you'll start to see some celebrations going on with some milestones of some of our buildings. It just doesn't seem possible. We're coming up on 20 years of Ben Davis University High School already. So yeah, it really is. Area 31 is having their open house week from Thursday on the 23rd before we get together again. And then I just wanted to let you know the 27th is a pretty meaty meeting for us. We do have a robust agenda for the 27th. We'll be talking about the Lilly Grant, of course. I know we had a preview of that in December. We have a presentation we just added to talk about professional development and some of the recommendations for the 25-26 school year to get some additional professional development opportunities for our staff. We want to talk about centralized enrollment. We're looking at improving the process for enrollment for our families. So we're going to have a presentation on centralized enrollment. And then also we are wanting to talk about the phase out of ESSER and how we're going to align staff as we move forward over the next several years. We've come up with a long-range plan to get us. Fortunately, and I attended a recent board meeting for, and by the way, this is our first streaming meeting. First one since we are statutorily required to stream our meetings. This is our very first, so we can chalk that up. I want to thank Jonathan for being here and making sure that went extremely well. He didn't know he was attending a board meeting until this afternoon, so I want to thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I attended a board meeting for a superintendent that I'm mentoring last week, and they were celebrating a 9% cash balance. And we have, under the leadership of Mr. Gardner and Mr. Samuel, have continued to be able to be in a very sound place with our cash balance, which is allowing us to take a multi-year approach to get to kind of right set staffing without negatively impacting anybody's jobs. And so because of the decisions that you have made and the flexibility that you have given to us over the years, allowing us to build up that cash balance, it has given us the flexibility to not have a dire situation that we had to make draconian cuts right away. So we'll have that layout for you also on the 27th. So 4 fairly heavy presentations, but all things that are moving us in a great direction. And I think hopefully it will excite you as much as it excites us. So all I have.
Thank you. Well, I've got a couple of things. First, I think I can speak on behalf of the board when I say thank you for the raspberry Windsor cookies.
Dr. Pierce is the,
Thank you, Dr. Pierce.
Welcome, a little New Year treat, and congratulations to our three elected board members.
Thank you.
Board, I have a note here addressed to the Board of Education. It says, during a time like this, we learn how much our friends and relatives really mean to us. Your expression of sympathy will always be treasured. Thank you for the heartfelt flowers sent in honor of my mom, Todd Hawks and family. Nice note from Todd, thank you. Anything else for the good of the meeting this evening? Okay. Return to 7:47.